Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Steamship Authority November 19th meeting of 2024. And I have to read an announcement here. I'd like to inform everybody that Falmouth Community Television, also known as FCTV, and Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, make an audio and video recording of today's meeting. If there's anybody else making an audio or video recording of today's meeting, if you are joining virtually, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by phone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you recognize, please state your name for the record. So,
Louisa Hufstadter, the Vineyard Gazette.
Thank you. Devin,
Devin Ankeny, Falmouth Enterprise.
thank you. Unki,
Unki Sonu from the Yummy Times.
thank you. Kai,
Kai Quigley, the Inquirer and Mirror.
you. And Jason.
Good morning, everyone. Jason Grazia Day, Nantucket Current.
Thank you. All set, Mr. Jones.
you got them all?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Starting off, the approval of the authority's minute for October 15th, 2024, meeting in public session. May I have a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes? If not, all we need is a show of hands. Maura will not be here. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Court Counsel's report. Morning, Rob.
Morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Just a brief summary of the Port Council meeting that was held November 5th. Everybody hear me okay?
Can you hear him?
No.
Is that a yes?
A little better. Yeah.
Okay, just want to be sure people can hear. So we had, I would say, a normal agenda, the typical updates from management on the various projects, the vessels, the IT system, the terminal reconstruction, and the Eagle dry docking. The main, I think, comments that came out of those topics, one with respect to the vessel is wanting to know when the Barnstable will be put in service. So I think that's still an open question that we had posed. And the opportunity to start collecting data on the operational side of the new vessels from the perspective of cruising speed, fuel consumption, all the things that will be very helpful to understand how they'll fit into our fleet. On the IT review, there was some discussion about the RFP process, indication that the RFP would be released before the end of this month, and discussion about the number of bidders that we could expect. And the indication was that the sweet spot would be between somewhere in 3 and 7 was the goal that was put out there for the responses. There was another agenda item about the day of sailing, and this would be handling of the way that the cars would be aligned and what's called the blue line. I think there was not a total understanding of the whole process, to be honest with you. There was lots of discussion about potential impacts, both on the Martha's Vineyard side and on the Falmouth side. There was a the suggestion to either do it on a trial basis and then assess its success, or to delay implementation until after the first of the year. No vote was taken on the topic. The main event for our meeting was the discussion of the proposed budget. So lots of sort of discussion questions, things like, does it make sense to continue to use last year's traffic as the way to generate next year's budget? What the timing of the increased expenses were thought to be. It was clear that payroll is the significant portion, that upwards of 45% is just vessel crews, and that the impacts on increases to the payroll was the significant part of it, as well as IT costs. A vote was taken and on 4 in favor and 1 abstention for the new budget. And then the next topic was the fare increases associated with the new budget, because the new budget showed an increase of about $13 million in costs to run the system, and which would generate about a loss of $3.3 million with no fare increases. And a goal was established or noted by Mark Rosum that they need about $10 million net profit in order to cover the various bond costs. So the need to have a fare increase. So that was the second major topic of discussion. It seems most of the fare increases proposed are on the standard fares, and indications are, both from most recent data, that the standard fare traffic counts are decreasing. So is that the best source for increased fares, and whether or not that's demand elastic or not? And also noted was the exclusion of the excursion fares to any of the increases, and a lot of discussion around whether or not that was equitable. Vote was taken, and 4 in favor and 1 against the fare increase. And the last topic was discussion of the communication plan, which was very preliminary, and I imagine you guys will get a more updated version of that today. And then some discussion about old and new business, about an open meeting on Martha's Vineyard. I believe that's scheduled for today. And also a suggestion that maybe Port Council meetings at least once a year would be held on each island as a way of making them more accessible for folks, our constituents in those areas. And that's a summary of the Port Council meeting. Thank you. Open for questions.
Any questions for Rob? Right here. Jim.
Thank you, Rob. Could you, there was a 4-to-1 vote on the fares, as I understand it. Could you explain, so that I can understand more fully, the vote against the proposed fare structure?
So I was the no vote, and my reasoning behind it was the lack of spreading the fare increases across all of the different fare types, specifically the excursion fare, which has no proposed increase for this year, and as I understand it, didn't have an increase last year. So that seemed like it wasn't an equitable way of spreading the fare increases across all the different users. And it also is in the context of the standard fare being the main source of the increased revenue, and the standard fare vehicle counts continue to go down. So is that the best place to, is that a sure thing that by putting most of the fare increases on the standard, on a fare category that's actually decreasing in terms of the numbers, is that going to be successful in terms of generating the revenue proposed? So those are the reasons behind the no vote.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not, thank you so much, Rob.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Rob.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving forward, General Manager's report, Bob.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. So to begin with, just to point out staff that's in the room here, myself, Mark Higgins, Mark Rosum, Courtney Oliveira, Terrence Keneally, Sean Driscoll, Janice Kenefick, Allison Fletcher, Angela Campbell, Stephen Coleman, and Todd Falvey. And then Mr. Ennis is in for a later topic, so. With us via Zoom, I think in a cooler confines than he typically has been, is Mark A. to give the update on the vessels. Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, good morning, everyone. In Fairhaven today. We have the Barnstable arrived last week, and we're finishing up with our Coast Guard testing. And this morning, we're deploying the MES system for testing and first time. So things are going to plan. Next slide, please. Here's a photo of the Barnstable arriving in New Bedford last week. Next slide. And this is kind of, she's maneuvering into the station. She had a very interesting shakedown cruise coming up. She regularly hit between 10 and 15-foot seas, and got to commend Captain Corbett and Chief Sean Barkowski and the whole crew of the Barnstable. As a rough ride up, but they made it very well. Next photo. And this is her all fast in our maintenance facility in Fairhaven. And we continue to get ready for our training phases and completion of Coast Guard testing. Next slide. So the Barnstable milestones, she departed Alabama Shipyard on the 31st of October. She arrived in Fairhaven maintenance facility on the 13th of November. U.S. Coast Guard, the MES deployment today, and they're doing this as we speak. We get some outfitting, finishing up with CCTV and the 5G Wi-Fi. And we've got some other outfitting inspections with Coast Guard, and we'll commence crew training right after Thanksgiving on the 2nd of December. Next slide. Okay, the Aquina is starting to move very quick now. We're getting ready for the coatings. Next slide. This is a picture of the bridge. She's finishing up. This picture is probably not indicative right now. She's getting ready for final fit up and of all the equipment that's in there. Next slide. Picture of the bow area. We've got, this is in preparation for all the deck coatings. Next slide. And the joiner work is moving very quickly. This is an older picture. We're much further along. Next slide. So the upcoming milestones on the Aquina: structural work complete on 7 December. Looking at the incline stability test on or about the 9th of December. Mechanical habitability complete at the end of the month on or about the 29th. And then we'll start looking at sea trials and other Coast Guard inspections at the end of the month, early January. So right now we're looking sometime in January about her departing the shipyard. Okay, moving on to the next one. We had a busy month down there. So the Monomoy is moving very quickly. Next slide. We just get ready all the cutouts in preparation for the split and removal of the 24-foot mid-body. Next slide. We're preparation for the tonnage bulkheads going into the forward tanks, typical of the Aquina and the Barnstable projects. Next slide. These are sponsons are all prefabbed, ready to hang once we get the 24-foot mid-body cut out and bring the back end of the vessel in and get that welded out. Next slide. Upcoming milestones for Monomoy include the mid-body removal in early December, stability test in May, sea trials in June. Still kind of far out to project, but they are actually ahead of schedule for the Monomoy. Of course, we have all the drawings and all the efficiencies of the first two vessels taken care of and all the lessons learned put into the Monomoy. And for the financial snapshot, we've got the project values, contracts of 13.7 million for each of the Quina and Barnstable. We've got 17 million for the MV Monomoy. We have change orders on the Barnstable at 3.5 and 3.1 million respectively for the Barnstable and the Aquina. And we're progressing. We should start seeing change orders come in for the Monomoy as well coming up. And with that, I would be anyone have any questions?
Mark, thank you. How comfortable were you with the vessel's performance coming up, given the fact that there wasn't much weight on her?
We actually filled the ballast tanks, so we filled her to our full laden draft. We were just over on or about 10 feet draft. So
Right.
the vessel performed. The vessel is designed for heavy weather, and she has a North Sea bow on her. And
Right.
she actually, although it took longer than anticipated for the voyage, she did very well. Matter of fact, she had stops in Tampa Bay. She had stops in Fort Lauderdale and in Beaufort, North Carolina, Morehead City, and for fuel, because we had very limited fuel on board because we fuel every other day. So then she made the final trek over to Fairhaven. Overall, it was an excellent voyage. It was a rough voyage for the crew, but it was a good shakeout voyage.
And you're comfortable with her speed?
Yeah, she did very well. We had we got to get her in our area, but we topped at 13.5 knots. This is during the sea trials. And but I think what we have so far, we're comfortable where we're at for our operational readiness.
Thank you.
Mark, when I went down to take a peek at the boat, I gotta thank you for your hospitality. And is it Captain Corbett? Is that his name?
That's correct.
Yes. Anyways, I thought I know the boat, you know, and the specs pretty well, but one thing I didn't know, I think you said that it has a double hull. Is that correct?
That's correct. These are complete double hulled. Under the bottom, there's a 3-foot space and 3 foot all around. So it is completely double hulled from stem to stern. That's a
I think
fantastic
that-
safety factor that I'm not sure that everyone's aware of.
Yeah, that's a very interesting fact. The other fact that in talking to the captain, he said, I was asking him the same question Jim was, you know, how it handled and things like that. And I guess the answer is this boat will be going when other boats are staying ashore. I mean, she should be able to take, you know, Nantucket Sound with ease for the most part.
Yeah, this will be part of, these boats are going to be our heavy freight vessel. They're going to be really well in heavy weather. They've got the, you know, 3 1,000 horsepower thrusters. So that was kind of the original selection when we looked at this, as being able to operate in heavy weather. So we're looking forward to them and get them Barnstable in service soon. And I think that these will be going when, as you said, when other boats are not going.
Yeah. Mark, what is the air draft on this? I think I was told, but
I don't have that number right in front of me, but they're about a deck higher than the Katama and the Gayhead. I don't have the exact number with me right now, but I can get that
67
for
feet.
you.
it's what?
It's 67 feet.
67. What is the Eagle?
That I don't know
Aha.
off the top of my head.
Okay, I'll look it up myself, but you know, it's the house and pilot house is pretty tall. And I love sitting in the captain's chair. I felt really important, you know, sitting up 67 feet.
Yeah, having that height advantage for maneuvering in and out of the harbors, particularly in the summer, and being able to observe small craft everywhere is such an advantage from being lower.
Yeah, they put in new windows angled down, and so they got a better visibility of both the aft deck and the foredeck. Interesting. Thank you for, the tour, Mark. And thank you for your report.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere, Mark.
Okay, we'll acquiesce to Eagle. Okay, the Eagle is presently in dock in Senesco in North Kingston, Rhode Island. You get the next slide, please. Again, as we showed this same photo in the Port Council, we've been getting a lot of, touching sand erosion on the very bottom. We've started to do some test cases on this. We've blasted this entire area and we're putting a new type of very hard coating. It's a glass flake paint to prevent this type of erosion, although we have not seen any degradation of the or diminution of the steel thickness. We just want to take some preventative maintenance. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the boat all decked out and with a red bottom. We've switched the color of the anti-fouling for the divers can see better underwater when they're doing their various inspections of the anodes, etc. Next slide. This is, we've had steel renewal in a number of different places on the Eagle based on our diminution or our gauging. And this is some steel renewal in the number 7 void area. Next slide. This is, we've put in for summertime new HVAC air handler installation to get some better air conditioning during the hot summer months. Next slide. So highlights of the docking include our bow thruster overhaul maintenance, HVAC air handler replacements, structural steel renewals, blast and coating of hull superstructure, and very important, we saw a lot of, we're changing bearings at every dry dock now because of the sand, and consequently, that's causing us to draw the shafts every dry docking, replace the bearings, and to reestablish that. We certainly have to take care of that at some point in the future. Getting both the harbors, getting that sand out of it, and it's important for the long term of the vessels. Next slide. Okay, so the highlights are here. We have a contract value of 1.49 million with change orders of 10,998 for a total contract value of 1.503 million. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Peter?
Mark, I guess talking about the sand issue, where is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in terms of dredging the harbor? I mean, is it even on the schedule? Obviously, this is costing us considerable amount of money in maintenance that we otherwise wouldn't need to do if it was dredged. And then my other concern is, where are we in terms of scheduling that the shoaling becomes an issue that we can't get those boats in at mean low tide?
I would defer that to Bob. I believe he has a better understanding of the dredging. I don't believe anything is scheduled to date, but it is important that we get this sooner than later, because there'll be at a time when we just can't get in at certain tidal levels at low tide. It's just the shoaling continues. So I'll have Bob follow up with that as well.
Yeah, so in regards to any immediate dredging, the discussions that we had with the Corps after we provided them with a hydrographic survey, and they went out and checked some areas, was that the amount of sand that needs to be moved is 10%, 15% of what they removed 12 years ago. And so they don't see it being an immediate need. Stress to them the damage that's been taking place on our vessels because of it, and the locations of it. So they were going to look at whether some of the areas could be flattened out in the interim. We are working with Representative Keating's office, as well as with Senator Markey on trying to get an appropriations done to prioritize harbors that provide lifeline services to islands in the appropriations bill. So we'll see what comes out of the Congress here in the next few weeks. So,
And have we given Markey and Keating's office like the hard numbers of what our maintenance costs have increased year by year in terms of this not being addressed, as well as have we projected out at what point is the harbor not going to be accessible to us at mean low tide?
so representative from Congressman Keating's office was on the calls that we had with the Army Corps of Engineers. So they're well in tune as to the issues that we've been having, that we've been seeing, and continue to stress every time we send a boat that's been on that run to a dry dock. We've been sending, forwarding the images to show it's continuing, and with the cutlasses, the bearings and everything, and how we have to be replacing those on a far more frequent basis than the vessels that are running on the Vineyard route. As for right now, the issue we've had on a couple of occasions have been that they've had to limit the amount of vehicles that are on board to keep a certain draft. Now, whether those are in some low tide conditions to begin with, we'll continue to monitor it. But we continue to try to push to get a priority for this harbor to be done. And the town of Barnstable is actually has to be the project sponsor for this, because it's falls within their jurisdiction. And I know that most recently there was a continued contact made by the town of Barnstable about the need to get the harbor dredged, and there was a meeting that we weren't party to, but find out about what the outcome of that was.
I just think it would be helpful if we could project out that, if it's 2028 and we aren't dredged, that how it will impact our lifeline service to Nantucket. I think that's important. For the island, it's important for us to understand our schedule and for us to then lobby the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to move on this.
So in order to do that, I think we'd have to do a little bit more frequent hydrographic surveys. In the past, we wouldn't do them for Hyannis Harbor. We would do them over in Vineyard Haven, or we check the Woods Hole terminal, but we hadn't been doing it in Hyannis, so we can get that schedule on a regular basis. That way we have that data to show that, how much movement there is in the sand.
I think given the rising maintenance costs because of this, as well as its potential to greatly impact our lifeline service to Nantucket, it may be something we need to start doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Peter, but I can tell you I've dealt with the Army Corps for many years. When I was chairman of the Waterways Committee, and they're not easy to deal with. Our last dredging was an emergency dredging, and surprisingly, all parties, I mean, the eelgrass people and everybody that had, an oar in the water there, helped us to get that dredging, because the boats were, the Coast Guard said, we're talking about the draft and hitting the bottom, and the Coast Guard said, if you're hitting bottom, then you've got to lay offshore until such time that there's water. And that wasn't the answer that anybody was looking for, but it's true. And I had pointed out at one time about going into the inner harbor, because, there's a lot of commercial boats in there and fishing, but they said that things like Highline and some of these things were recreational, and if they had to wait a couple of hours, you know, that's just too bad. Wasn't a pleasant conversation, but they're hard to deal with. They're definitely hard to do, but we got to stay on top of it. Anything else? Peter, Jim?
You know, this is critical. I mean, the whole lifeline means, for me, certainly, food, fuel, and medicine. And that's freight boats, that's not cars. And we need to, if we're running into bureaucracy beyond, you know, doing everything we can there, we got to start thinking about a contingency plan. Or it's going to be back for Nantucket going to China, which means back to Woods Hole and back and forth. And that will play havoc with so many things. So we got to start thinking about a contingency for this. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you. Laura, IT?
All right, thank you, Mark. So next we have Tom Innes here to give a brief update on the IT review and the reservation system replacement project.
All right, great. Thanks for having me. Should I speak into this thing? Yes. Okay. Yeah, the microphone. Yes. All right. All right, great. All right. Well, thanks again for having me. So wanted to give an update on the reservation system planning. I would say that this is now a mixed update. The project is making great progress. We're making great progress on the RFP, great progress with the teams. But at the same time now, you know, since we had developed these slides, now concerned about the COO departure as the project sponsor and the risks that creates for the project. So good news first. We've kicked off the project formally internally. We've now kicked off the executive steering committee, and then have also kicked off the commercial experience subcommittee, and as well have been working very closely with procurement and legal to work through the RFP and the details of the RFP. There's a current draft out for review, and still overall in terms of the review process on track for the end of November. I should say we've identified a couple procurement policy items that need to be worked through. Just you know, from our understanding, really just because this is a very different procurement than the Steamship Authority typically releases, and so working through those, but still hoping to, you know, stay as close to the schedule as possible. We've been able to, on the next slide, as part of the executive steering, continue to refine the vision and work through the details of the project charter. So again, the vision of this to implement an improved user interface, especially, you know, internally, and then also externally with the different portals and access for vacationers, for islanders, for shippers, et cetera. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, because we're still, we need to find out what the vendors come back with. But the other parts of this include enhancing communication, enhancing notification. Again, from what we were able to see from what the market has, there's a you know, significant opportunity to enhance communications, and then also use this project as a way to leverage the opportunity this project provides to look at ways of enhancing operational efficiency, improving how work is done, and training, enhance reporting. And so all of this, you know, really, you know, the North Star of this is putting customers at the center and identifying what all the different customer needs are of the reservation system, both internally and externally. So again, in terms of on the next slide, the status of the RFP itself. So working through the we're sort of on the cusp of the leadership procurement review and then moving into leadership sign off. So that'll require executive steering review for the project, leadership review, and then again, legal and procurement final review before it gets posted. So next steps on the next slide, to finalize and release the RFP. And then we've got some other teams internally to kick off the operations customer experience sub-team and start thinking through and working through what does that look like. At some point, there'll be an intersection with things like the website, but there's work to do before that. And then also kicking off, what does this look like from an accounting perspective? We've already incorporated a large number of requirements around the interface of the reservation system with the Steamship Authority's accounting systems, but continuing to work through what that could look like. Where's there an opportunity? And the last piece on here, thinking through the internal and external communications approach. How do we really trying to answer the question of like, this is a big, hard project. It'll be a lot of work. And so how do we communicate this in a way that's engaging, that's inspiring, that people get excited, but not too excited? So we have measured expectations. So working through what does that mean? What does that look like? And trying to really, capture the project in a meaningful way.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Who are the members of the executive team and the other team that you were talking about?
Yep. So so we set up as part of the project governance model, there's an executive sponsor that's been the COO. And then we've also have a project steering committee, and that's currently made up of a representative from the board, who's the lead for the project, and then also a representative from the Port Council, and then the COO and the director of IT.
So there's 4 members.
I think I covered it. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And Peter, you're on.
Yes.
You want to add something else?
Well, I do. I would say that I think we've made very good progress. I don't want to lose momentum with this project as we move forward with the RFP. Ultimately, I think when we talk about implementation of whatever system that we procure, that needs to be owned and implemented on the operations side. I think that's the appropriate place. But obviously, we will not have chief operating officer soon. So I think we need to look at having an interim sponsor for this project to slot in through the RFP process. So from, getting the final RFP out and then the evaluation and the award of that contract. And then hopefully by that time, we will have a new chief operating officer who then can take over the implementation of the award. So, I have some ideas who I think the interim sponsor at the executive level should be at the steamship. Now, I don't know if that's more appropriate to talk in executive session or in public session. So I'll defer to you as well as Bob Davis and Terrence, if that's more appropriate to talk in executive session. But I don't think we can afford to lose more than a couple of weeks delay in the RFP being out on the street. Because then I think we'll start losing a lot of momentum, and every week is borrowed time towards potential failure for our existing system, as well as the cost increases for implementation the longer we delay in the project.
Thank you. Do you have anything more to say on that?
I would just add to that, yeah, we've really taken, the approach of this project is while it's an IT system, it's an operations project, because really the reservation system sits at the heart of operations. And so, without a project sponsor, it really creates a significant hole in the team. And good systems support good operations. So we need, for the system to be good, we need to have the operations side, really, being able to be a really strong part of the project team in all the different aspects of the project, and to really help with prioritization, with helping with resource allocation, with helping make the all the many decisions. And a project of this size has real costs, and delays have real costs to them. And so really trying to anticipate that. That's where we are, right? We're on track, but we're trying to anticipate the risks that we can see coming, and doing our best to highlight that and then head it off.
And the executive steering committee, we've committed to a meeting at least bi-weekly at the moment to make sure we're overseeing the project and it's moving forward. And the port council members, John Kay. On the executive steering committee.
I figured that was it. Jim?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said by Gibeus as well as by Mr. Jeffries about the critical nature of keeping this going. Every project we've seen in real life, in steamship life, where we've delayed, all we've seen is cost increases and mounting inefficiencies. So I think it'd be, what I'd like to get is a sense of the board, since we are short of a number of positions, senior positions in the organization now. Should we talk in executive session about filling these positions on an interim basis as was suggested, or should we talk now?
Well, it all depends on what you're going to be bringing up. Go ahead, Bob.
If I may, we did add an item to the executive session.
What?
We did add an item onto the executive session this morning
Okay.
for discussion about
I think
non-union
that's
person.
the place to start.
I'm happy to defer then to, when I mention my name, I'm going to volunteer.
Nobody's going to take that from you, believe me.
Also, talked about the risks of slowing things down. I am concerned about having the RFP reviewed, not just internally, but by people who have technical experience in looking at RFPs, legal experience. Who will be doing that for us?
I mean,
The RFP is going to be complex.
Yep.
And it's going to be dealing with a huge project for this organization.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure that we have an RFP that is aware of and cognizant of the traps that you can fall into with RFPs that don't cover technical issues. So how are we doing that?
So I think in terms of the committees that with Tom and the subcommittees that are working on this, they're the ones developing all the framework of the type of systems we're looking for. Beyond that, working with Terrence and our procurement officer on making sure that the RFP conforms to our bidding requirements and the state's bidding requirements. So that those elements are being addressed for that. So, and in terms of the committees, you have from an IT perspective, we have Stephen and his group are also involved in that aspect of it. So
Okay, so Stephen, as well as Gibeus, as well as this executive committee will be reviewing the RFP before it's released.
Yes, that's all.
And
That's,
then-
that's what the process we've been going through already.
Okay,
Yes.
and then the board would vote on the RFP?
Once it's in a ready to release form, would be forwarding it to the board and board council members for any
Thank you.
comments that they would like to have.
Thank you.
My understanding is depending on how the final RFP is written, we may also go to the board for a slight change in procurement policy to allow the RFP to have a different type of offer.
Cross that, say about what we come to it.
Well, I guess we'll take that under abeyance. Yeah. Okay, where are we? Woods Hole Terminal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have another question, anybody? I'm sorry. Thanks so much.
All right, Woods Hole Terminal Reconstruction Project. The first slide. So here you can see the constant conduit installation for the utility building. I took this last week. You'll see that the grade level will be up to basically the bottom of that stanchion on the right-hand side when we're done down there. And then it will be finished off with a cement floor. Next slide. This is the second deck, and you'll see that we've got the glue lamp beams going up, as well as some of the decking that will be on top that's being installed right now as we finish up that.
And I'm looking at the span of those glue line beams, and I know they're rugged and stuff, but what is the span there off the top of your head? Do you know? I mean, it looks.
They have to be 35 to 40 feet across.
They have,
35 to 40 feet. I don't have the exact
wow.
dimensions, but yeah. They're pretty hefty when you get up and take a look at it.
Now, there's not gonna be concrete on that, on top of that. It's the second floor.
No, yeah, this is the second floor, and then you'll have your roof deck on top. And,
Okay.
and one of the further slides, you can see the top, the decking that we're gonna use.
Okay.
Next slide. And well, there you go. There's an example of the decking that's going on top there. Reminds me of a lot of a log home. That, you know, they fit together. They're about 2.5 to 3 inches thick.
Looks like southern yellow pine.
Yeah, and there you see that the decking's going up on the roof right there. Next slide. Right now, we're at about 0.01% over. We do have change order 3 that hit, and then change order 4. We'll be looking at about, with credits and everything, at about another additional 100,000. But where we are in the project, I'm pretty confident that overall, by the time we finish, we'll be well under 5% on change orders.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? Moving on. Head Start.
Okay, so our reservation and manager, Angela Campbell, is coming up. Want to just present to the members what we're looking at for the 2025 reservation timeline. So, Angela.
Hello. So we are proposing that January 14th through January 20th, we'll be processing the non-transferable Head Start reservations. January 21st through January 27th, we'll be processing both the transferable and non-transferable that come in at that point for Head Start. Our general opening for Nantucket, we propose for January 28th through February 3rd. General opening for Martha's Vineyard for February 4th through February 10th. And then the phones would then open on February 11th after all the week-long processes have gone through. Head Start is available to those approved participants in the 2025 preferred or excursion programs. Participants are allowed to make up to 10 reservations, one way or round trip, before the general public. Of those 10 reservations, no more than 5 can be made into another person's name. Of those 5, no more than 3 can be made as a transferable reservation. And 5 need to be made directly in the account holder's name if they choose to utilize all 10. You do not have to utilize all 10. The non-transferable reservations, again, January 14th through the 20th, will be exclusively for reservations that are going to be non-transferable directly booked into the account holder's name. The reservations can also be made transferable from January 21st to January 27th. And those will be, you know, if it's for you or for somebody else or for a transferable reservation at that point. We will be opening for the fall season, which is October 22nd through January 4th, 2026. And that will be on June 17th. And that would be by phone, mail, and online. The winter spring, which would start on January 5th, 2026. The close date on that is to be determined, but those reservations would be opening as of October 21st, 2025. The reservation office hours are going to be 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, with the exception of the extended office hours that we run during the summer season. We are proposing that we are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from May 16th to September 8th, as well as the additional listed dates of May 22nd, May 27th, July 1st through 3rd, September 2nd, and October 10th and 13th. The extended hours will cover our day of sailing line as well as our Nantucket high-speed passenger line. The Martha's Vineyard Blue Line Standby Program will also be during that time period as well. When we do not have standby, then we do have the Blue Line Standby in line for those residents that are in the Preferred Excursion Program. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Jim?
Go ahead. If I just may add, the one thing when we open up for the Head Start and the general openings, to address a number of comments or concerns that we've had in the past about starting extremely early. We're planning on the opening to take place at 8 a.m. We've had it as early as 6, I think, at one point, but or 5, I guess. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Do we all have to cross our fingers? I mean, what's going on here?
Stephen and his team are all looking at, they're working on the systems now to optimize them for the opening, and I'll leave it at that.
David, are we stress testing people? Or are we stress testing the system? Yeah, please. And while you're coming up, Angela.
Yes.
Prior to doing what we're going to be doing with passenger vehicles, how are we doing with trucks?
We are still in the process of our bulks for the summer season. My hope is to have that obviously completed by Christmas. I don't always, usually it's the new year where it hits, but we usually try to get that completed by Christmas.
Okay. So you're comfortable with where we are in terms of bulk and trucks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So to answer your question, yes, both. At this point in time, we've already gone through 3 rounds of testing, load testing.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
could you get real close to this?
Sure thing.
Yeah, there you go.
We've already gone through three rounds of load testing. The performance thus far is significantly better than it was early stages last year. It far surpasses actually what we had anticipated. We have no signs at this point in time that performance will be an issue. right? A real, a live environment creates circumstances that are unexpected, but at this point in time, we do anticipate the openings to go as smoothly as one can expect. We still anticipate a level of dissatisfaction as a result of the waiting room, but that's a necessity at this point in time. As far as as long as the bulks, as long as the trucking information is in the system, we'll accommodate whatever schedules is required. I think you had said January, what was the date on that?
For openings?
Yeah, the first date.
January 14th.
Yeah, so we do anticipate being ready for the 14th.
Okay.
We have our full round of testing is tonight, as a matter of fact.
Since the graphs of people logging in to do Head Start have shown usage, and then falling down to nothing after the opening, have you looked at staggering the numbers that are available over like a 2-hour period? So X number will be taken from 8 to 10, then another group would be released from and on, or does that not make any sense?
From an IT perspective, it doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't?
Whatever the demands are, I'll let the executive side of the house make decisions on that. But whatever is required of the environment is what I'll provide.
Okay.
I think in what we've experienced in the past there's obviously a lot of anxiety and desire for people to get whether it's the limited amount of space that's available on the Nantucket Run, for instance. I think the weight room option that we'll be using will be able to manage that, so that way as they are coming into the weight room, they'll be assigned a position, and that will move. The idea is that they move in unison from that point on. So unfortunately, there's more demand for, say, the 12 o'clock boat on a Sunday leaving the island than we possibly could ever handle. So unfortunately, that's why we tell people to utilize our wait lists. That's usually very successful in moving people along in that regard as well. So,
okay. Blue line question. Hi. I reserve my question. I think I just got shut down.
Once we get the reservation system and the website and things like that, will we be able to eliminate this process of opening up the, for the reservations? Or, in other words, can they do it online themselves?
that's what they're doing now. Yes.
Huh?
That's what they're doing now. Yes. I guess the question is do we open it up in a different manner? Whether it's people that are, whether it's a rolling, we've looked at that. There's a number of people that are obviously, if they're making a commitment to be renting a property on the island, they want to make sure that they not only can get to the island, they also want to make sure that they can get off the island. And so, that's why we haven't implemented it's 1 month at a time type of approach that would have, managed some of the load as well. So again, we're hopeful that, between the load testing that's being performed and the optimization that Stephen and his team are working on, will make this a smooth process.
Yeah, you partially answered my question. Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Steve? One comment. I made the mistake of looking up on the Google AI, and now I know I don't know how to use my iPhone. I don't know how to use my computer. I definitely not going to know anything about AI but I listened to an interview with, I think the guy's name is Jensen from Nevada, and Mark Facebook and stuff, and very, very into AI. And the comments are, if you're not into AI, you're going behind. But it is absolutely unbelievable, you know, the whole system. And I don't even want to pretend to know that, and I don't have enough time left to do that. But it's really phenomenal. So enough comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. Stephen. As disclosed, Allison will be coming up now to provide an update on the proposed reservation only for the Martha's Vineyard route.
Last person, I am not a soft speaker, so I will not be in the microphone. What? Okay. All right. I am here to review and request approval of the board to extend the day of sailing reservation only to year-round on the Vineyard route due to construction both at the Woods Hole and Vineyard Haven terminal. Both terminals will be undergoing major construction this winter. Woods Hole will be starting its final phase of the terminal reconstruction, and Vineyard Haven will be doing work on slip 1. These projects may result in an increased wait time, congestion at both terminals during peak times, impacting our ability to serve the travelers effectively. We're planning on implementing we would like to implement a year-round reservation-only system to anticipate to alleviate some of the congestion, ensuring that the island residents and visitors can secure travel plans without the uncertainty of overcrowding. To help with this situation, we're going to enact the Blue Line during this time period. That will be utilized 7 days a week. Blue Line is a rolling 12 vehicle line. This is meant means to stage up to 12 vehicles at a time, depending on the real estate. It could be less, but once a car moves out of the Blue Line and onto a vessel, we go and fill it back up again. This is for anybody that is in the excursion and preferred programs that are island residents. We previously with the Blue Line, if you had a reservation, you had to surrender said reservation to be able to get into Blue Line. We are looking at suspending that part of it, so you can just get into the line with your reservation for a later date or time, so you can still have that reassurance that you have something. The availability of the Blue Line may be suspended or halted at any time during the day for unforeseen circumstances, i.e. Weather, God forbid, mechanical issues or whatnot. Anytime that we have to suspend service, obviously the Blue Line is going to be suspended as well. Blue Line does not guarantee the customer passage to the island, but it does allow them that ability to, if we have space, to get on the boat. And how we choose who's going on the boat is we load up all the reservations. Then if there's any medicals, the medicals go on. And then if there's space after the medicals, then we take from the Blue Line and put them on the vessel. I'm sure most of you have been down there and you've seen, we do usually get a couple extra cars on a trip because people don't show up. So it is a program that works, and the people that have utilized the Blue Line, I do believe, have enjoyed the service working correctly. At this time, staff is recommending extending the day of sail reservation only to year-round on the Martha's Vineyard route. This will be a trial period starting January 4th, and the trial will last for 9 days, and then staff will reassess the situation after that. Any questions? Since I shut them down
Go ahead,
earlier.
Peter.
As I said, the gentleman from Shillmark reserved his time early.
Well, okay.
That's the first time I've been called that. Thank you. So there's going to be a trial period.
Yes.
That's point 1. Point 2, you say it's under consideration in terms of the people with reservations not giving up their reservation when they move into the Blue Line.
Correct. Yeah, it's, because it's right now, it's a policy, so
I understand,
Up
but
to-
what does under consideration mean?
it's up to basically the board's decision if they would like to.
Oh,
I would assume that's how it goes, right? No? Oh, fine, it's gone. It's gone.
just wondering what it meant. Thank you.
There we go.
So you're looking for a decision from the board about that?
About the day of sale, 7 days a week for this.
You're
winter.
looking for a decision about the Blue Line and no and reservations only 7 days a week
Yes,
with a trial period of
90 days,
90
Mhm.
days.
starting January 4th.
And this is due to the congestion at both terminals during
Correct.
construction. And we also will consider whether or not to have people give up their tickets.
At this point, we will not have that happen. So if they have a later reservation, they can keep the reservation, so.
So they can keep the
Yep.
reservation.
As long as you get them out.
Yeah, that's, I mean, as long
As
as they-
long as.
we can get them out of the line. It's like when you,
Check,
like,
check, 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 check.
right, it's when you're in
As long as
standby, you
as
get
long as they
stuck.
can maneuver out of the line.
Yeah.
Okay, the gentleman from Chilmark is finished with those questions.
So my question is more on the practicality and congestion. What happens to the 13th car who wants to get into the Blue Line at Woods Hole Terminal?
So it's really going to come down to availability of space. If we have enough room to put a 13 car in line, we're going to. It's just a matter of, we just need to have a standard number that's try to keep it at a set number. If we happen to have more room, then obviously we're going to try to keep as many as we can on the property. If not, then we're going to inform them to come back at set time when we know we're going to have some space available, and then we can get them back in line again. We can offer them to come up and if they wanted to park up here for the while and go for lunch. Whatever's necessary, we can.
But they're not
accommodate
going to
them.
get a spot. If there's not spot on the at the
Property,
terminal, then they're not going to be queued.
correct.
Which then makes them, which in a way would incentivize them,
To make a reservation.
well, make a reservation or to keep on circling.
Peter, my observation from talking with the people who work at the terminals
Mhm.
is that it's the unknown. The more we can do to let people understand this, and I would suggest that we send out the piece on the website about Blue Line, but send it out as a mailing to everybody who's in the excursion program.
Absolutely.
I mean, people have to understand, not everyone understands this. I appreciate the work that's going in. I'm concerned about congestion in both places. I'm concerned about safety of pedestrians and bicyclists. This seems to be the way to deal with it. So do you want a motion?
Can I ask one?
Yeah, of course.
How many cars on average on a daily basis utilize the Blue Line today?
It depends on the day. We've done it where it's been, I believe it was, started out with what was, I believe, 10 only, about 10 for the day, and that was it. Once the 10 was utilized, you couldn't do it anymore, which hindered those that were planning on traveling later in the day. It's still not guaranteeing them a spot, but it is giving them the ability to, as if you were in standby, does not guarantee you a spot either. So it's just an Islander standby.
And the Blue Line is only available on days of reservation only days.
Right.
But we're changing everything to
We're
reservation.
changing,
Correct.
we're
So
changing,
there's
we're
no-
proposing to change it. to
There's no
reservation.
standby unless you're an excursion fare.
Or preferred.
or prefer-
So Billy Joe from New York City, who doesn't live on the island, and has no reservation, they will not be able to sit on the property without anything. They would have to go somewhere and physically try to call reservations if they're open, go in the ticket office or go online to make a reservation if there's anything available.
This speaks to communication. This speaks to the need to tell the traveling public what the Blue Line is. It also speaks to the need to encourage people as soon as they know that they have to go off island, make your reservation.
Absolutely.
And if it isn't, if you want the 8:15, it's not available, take what's available and get on the waiting list. We really have to tell people what they need to do to help themselves, and just make it clear.
I can't say enough how much the wait list works for people. It works for passenger vehicles. It works for our trucks even. Our shippers use the wait list and they make those matches on a regular basis as well. It is a program that works well. Unfortunately, you have that uncertainty until you get to that point where you get the match. But at least you know you have something, so.
And it really helps if people will make their bookings as soon as they know they have to go off island and not wait till the week before.
Correct.
Anyway,
You know, from a mainland guy, over there, we don't know anything about, reservations, blue lines, or anything else. I only know what I hear here. So the question that I have, so it's reservations only. Once you take those reservations and the ship is full, the ship is full and there's no blue line, right?
Yep, well, so we'll put all the reservations on. If there's any room still on the boat available, if there's medicals on the property, we'll put the medicals on, and then we'll put blue lines on.
Okay, so there's a little flexibility there. But when do you load? Let's say your reservations are filling the boat, but they haven't shown up.
So technically, you're supposed to be there a half hour prior to departure. Do people show up a half hour before departure? Not all the time. And it's at the discretion of the agent on when they're gonna stop letting reservations into the line. Usually it's about 10 to 15 minutes before departure. The agent will call the check-in booth and be like, no more reservations. So then they'll load up the rest of the reservations, then they will take from the medicals and the blue lines to fill up those spaces. So it's very important that people actually show up on time and not wait until the last minute, hoping that they're gonna, and especially more so now this winter, we're really gonna have to stick to it being set time on when we're gonna be calling it in order to help people out, so.
Now, how do they notify, those that are in the blue line?
It's anyone that is in the preferred or excursion program. So the island residents that are in the preferred or the excursion program.
And how are they notified?
They have to apply to be in those programs. So.
And they would physically be coming down to the terminals to try to get onto the blue line.
So.
And we don't have any flashing signs of saying, blue line over here or.
No, and especially with Woods Hole, it depends on the day of the week. Where they're gonna be loading or lining up the blue lines, because if they have more trucks, they might have it in front of the terminal. As another day, they might have it off to the side. So it's, especially with the construction there, it's gonna be a little bit more fluid on the location. So every vehicle and truck that comes in stops at the booth, and then they direct them where to go from there.
Well, I think reservations only is a good model. I mean, all I can see is, without it, everybody's, pedal to the metal and trying to get in line.
Yep. And with those people that are in the blue line that are now keeping their reservations for later times, those reservations, once they get on an earlier boat, get scanned, they go into the system. So someone else who decides the last minute they want to go to the island might be able to grab that reservation and still be able to, do their spontaneous trip to the vineyard.
And it's going to be for 90 days. Is that too long? I mean, suppose it's turned out to be a mess.
I mean, it's definitely, we're going to be keeping an eye on it throughout the entire period, but at the max, it'll be that 90-day trial period. If we realize this may not be working out properly, we'll obviously readjust.
And
It's going to be a work in progress.
This is only for people that are preferred customers or people on the street list or whatever.
Yep, excursions and preferred, yep.
Me from Hyannis, I want to get on the blue
Unfortunately,
line.
You're not a blue liner. You'd have to call the number and change your reservation.
I might have to protest that.
you could drive.
Huh?
You could drive my truck.
There you go.
Okay.
Or Rob's, either one. Then no, you don't even count either, wrong island.
Any further questions?
No.
Well, thanks so much. Good luck.
Oh, we're looking for a vote.
Huh?
I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, we'll do that. Second,
Approve with a 90-day trial period. Approve with no other things.
The mailing out of the blue
Yep.
line.
Mailing to each of the excursion holders an explanation of the blue line and the process that they need to go through. There was a third thing.
7 days a week.
7 days.
Thing, and you do not give up your.
Correct, not
reservation.
giving up your reservation. That was.
So all of that,
That's what I'm,
like he said.
it's moved and seconded, just discussion. Again, going back to hyenas, I think we're being left out of the mix here.
Rob.
Huh? No, we're not? Well, here's my bars over here, so,
The construction's in Woods Hole and Vineyard Haven, so.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, a memorandum of understanding of the Hyannis Fire Department. I was interested to see that. Bob,
So, Todd Falvey is here to present the draft of the MOU with the Hyannis Fire Department. So, Todd?
So I'm here today to request authorization for the board to agree to enter into or authorize us to enter. Oh, sorry. So I'm here today to request the authorization from the board to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Steamship Authority and Hyannis Fire Department to set forth procedures and responsibilities regarding maritime firefighting. Back in May, the authority mutually entered into discussions with the Hyannis Fire Department to discuss the roles and responsibilities, the authority, communication, and vessel familiarization with the Hyannis Fire Department. And we had some very productive discussions between management and Hyannis Fire Department management. And we eventually agreed to the framework of a memorandum of understanding just last week. You know, as we know, firefighting is uniquely different on a vessel as opposed to shoreside. So, you know, one of the unique challenges is firefighting on a vessel miles from shore. You know, between Nantucket Sound and Martha's Vineyard, the Vineyard Sound. If a fire breaks out, essentially the crew is the firefighting group at the time until such time the fire department can get to the scene or assist the crew. You know, and other unique circumstances are determining search and rescue needs if the passengers present a man overboard situation. So those discussions were also had. You know, it's also important to note that we made the fire department aware that we are regulated by the Coast Guard, and we are required to have fire-rated bulkheads, fire doors, watertight doors, air dampers, and fixed firefighting systems such as CO2 and FM200 systems. So it was just a education of how we do our firefighting and education of how they will respond to firefighting situation on our vessels. You know, there are several decision makers also involved in the event of a fire on board a passenger vessel. So several of the decision makers are, obviously we'd have to involve the U.S. Coast Guard's captain of the port of the Southeastern Sector New England Division, the Steamship Authority, vessel captains, and the executive management group, Hyannis Fire Department Chief, Massachusetts State Police, and Barnstable Police. They're all key stakeholders, which would form a unified command in the event of a shipboard fire that turns into a major event. So we just wanted to have a communication plan and developed, utilizing existing public safety channels, cell phones, Steamship Authority radio frequencies, sound powered phones, as well as designated semi-secured VHF channels. We also decided to have vessel fire plans provided to the Hyannis Fire Department in pre-designated locations at the Hyannis Terminal. Also, on a regular basis, we'll provide vessel familiarization tours to the Hyannis Fire Department upon request or at regular intervals for familiarization. If they have new crews, if we have new crews, we want to work in concert together. So the recommendation today is the staff recommends that members vote to authorize the general manager to execute a memorandum of understanding for the Hyannis Fire Department, establishing procedures, responsibilities regarding maritime firefighting.
Okay,
Any questions?
Peter.
I think this is a fantastic idea. My question is, do we have similar MOUs with Tisbury, Oak Bluffs, Falmouth, and Nantucket?
That will be the goal. This is the first.
Okay, so the goal is that we then have this framework with every one of the ports' fire departments.
Yes, every port will be unique in the response, but yes, that is the goal.
And the other municipal fire departments have been involved over the last year in the discussions that we've had. These are ongoing meetings. We've probably had 6 or 7 meetings over the last year, and so the different fire departments.
But this is the first
But
formal
this is the
framework.
first formal framework.
Yes.
But the goal is that we do that with Falmouth, Nantucket, Tisbury, Oak Bluffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just understand Barnstable is always setting the pace, so yeah. First responders are obviously captain, shipboard, fire at sea. And then, you know, into port, is there a shift to command or responsibility over to the mainland fire departments, or how does that work?
Well, if I may, so the idea being is that there be a unified command and then those decisions will be made jointly. Obviously, fighting a fire, as Mark will attest on a vessel, is a lot different than a house fire. You know, the tendency is a house fire is that they want to ventilate, and that's one of the worst things you can do if it's a engine room fire or things like that. And if we've already done the firefighting, the fire suppression systems. So it's going to be working together with them. We've had the Hyannis Fire Department and was it Oak Bluffs came to Fairhaven. We had a drill in Fairhaven on one of our vessels. They came, they went through the vessel in terms of the fittings that they would have to have for to be able to connect their hoses or whatever. And I think the idea is Mark and Todd have said is develop this framework to be able to work with all the other fire departments in the towns that we deal with. So
It boils down to, Bob,
No,
the first time you see the fire department should not be in an emergency.
should not what?
It should not be during a crisis. Like part of this is building. a
Oh,
relationship
absolutely. I think
With the
this
different
is,
departments that we have. And to sit and, we've involved, like I said, all the fire departments. A lot of this has been around firefighting for EVs on vessels. That's been a major emphasis for Coast Guard over the last couple of years. With the MSIB they put out. So this is just the first of a formalized memorandum that we have.
I mean, I know over the years, they've been on board the vessels and they had, joint responses and things like that. And a fire aboard a vessel is not an exciting thing, especially when I was halfway across the Pacific and the fire broke out on the troop stick while going to Vietnam. And so it makes you a believer, this is a nasty thing. So anyways, the motion is to approve this. And any further discussion? All in favor? Sorry.
no one made a motion yet.
I'll move.
I thought, okay, I'm sorry then. It's been moved in second, but all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. And I think that does it for the general manager at this point. And Mark and Courtney.
Okay,
I ask Mark a question?
Yeah.
Before I forget. The blue line, the reservations only policy. Have you done any estimate on revenue impact from this?
No,
Okey dokey. Do you think there are angles that we should look at in terms of potential revenue impact from reservation only versus standby?
so this is happening January, February, March. So in theory, most of the standard fare is commercial related. They're gonna have reservations earlier in the day traveling. And then the excursions, which is a higher percentage of the usage, they have ability to jump in the blue line, so it really shouldn't be that much of an impact. And one thing that at the end of the night in Woods Hole, I know in the past that when you're only staging one boat, you have more room to hold cars, so they're not kicking them out. They're holding them the last boat or the last two boats because you have more space on the property for both terminals. So you'd be able to absorb anyone where instead of, go make a reservation, just holding them
I'm
up.
just thinking about money.
Yes, I don't foresee a material change at that time of year because of this change.
So that's qualified about that time of year.
Yes, and that's what this policy was for, is during the construction period for the 90
I
days.
thought we were doing this for the year.
We already have, so the construction over in Vineyard Haven should be done in the springtime.
Right.
So it'll just be the continuation of the project in Woods Hole that we'll be dealing with. We already have reservation only days in Woods Hole. We may need to, once they put up the fencing and the work zone that's there, we'll come back and, update the board as to whether we feel it's necessary to extend it even into the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to jumpstart your presentation.
Not at all, so you gotta be ready for everything, right? All right, so we got the business summary for the month of September. Okay, passengers carried for the month of September for both routes combined were up 2.6% or just under 7,600 passengers, with both routes being up. Year to date, both routes combined are up just over 8,100 passengers at 0.4%. The Vineyard route up while the Nantucket route's down, and that's the conventional ferry. And a big driver on that was the schedule change, replacing the Woods Hole with the Sankaty this past year. Okay, so vehicles carried, passenger vehicles carried for the month of September, and a reminder, this is all one-way traffic. The Vineyard route was up 1,300 vehicles or 2.9%, while the Nantucket route was down 550 vehicles or 5.9%. Both routes combined were up 1.4% or 815 vehicles. Big driver on the Nantucket route was some of the schedule with the freight boat not running on the third trip 7 days a week. But year to date, we're down 3.1% of 14,000 vehicles. And you can see on both islands, it's primarily the standard fare vehicles that are down. Freight for both islands combined, we're up 1.1% of 92 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being down. Year to date, both routes combined are up 1.1% or 863 vehicles. Cars parked. Total cars parked for both routes combined are up 6.1% or 1,100 cars. Year to date, we're up 1.1% or 1,500 cars. The Vineyard's up, the Nantucket's down. Big driver on that was looking at some of the adjustments for the passengers being carried on the boats with the schedule changes. Now we can skip this slide. Okay, trip summary for the month. We had 14 trips canceled for mechanical, 16 for weather, and 22 for traffic, and 24 from the approved schedule change on the Vineyard route. On the Nantucket route, we had 4 for mechanical, 34 for weather, and 60 with schedule, and all 60 on the Nantucket route on the schedule is, it was a combination, between the Gay Head schedule and the IANO in September. Year to date, we have 161 trips canceled for mechanical, 372 for weather, and 634 for schedule and 83 for crewing. Down below, you can see the year to date for this year is in purple compared to last year in green. So the financial snapshot, operating revenues were down 1.5 million. Total revenue was down 1.3 million for the month. Operating expenses were down 344,000. Putting this together, our net income was down 929,000 for the month, which came in at $4.3 million. But year to date, our net income's at 17 million, which is 685,000 above budget at this point. On the revenue side, a big driver there is the automobile revenue. And even though we just went over the traffic comparison of 24 to 23, the budget was compared to 2022. And the traffic statistics in 2022, the amount of trip cancellations were significantly less than in 2023 and 2024. But year to date, operating revenues are down 3.2 million. You can see the driver there is the automobile traffic down 8.8% of 3.4 million. Operating expenses for the month were down 344,000 or 3.1%. You can see the maintenance expenses up 375 for the month, but year to date, it's still down 452. So a lot of that's timing of when we anticipated to realize the expenses. Year to date, our fuel expense is down 1.5 million or 17% for the year. And we are hedged for all of next year at this point at a lower rate than we are for 2024, excuse me. Get my years confused there. But year to date, total operating expenses are down $2 million at 2%. All right, so then we look at how we did for October. Passengers carried for both routes combined are up 0.8% at just under 2,200 passengers, with the Vineyard route being down 1,300 passengers, the Nantucket route up 3,500 passengers. Year to date, we're up 10,277 passengers or 0.4%. And looking at both routes combined for vehicles, we're down 3,600 vehicles for the month of October compared to 2023. Big driver on that is the standard fare vehicles on the Vineyard route. And looking at the trip cancellations, that's playing an impact on this. In 2024, we had 111 trips canceled compared to the schedule. Last year, we had 47. So that's impacting the traffic numbers. So with that, be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Moving forward.
Okay, budget. So with me is Courtney Oliveira, the Assistant Treasurer. Before we start, I'd like to thank we've had 3 open houses, one on the Vineyard, one on Nantucket, and one here in Falmouth. I'd like to thank everyone who participated in those meetings. There was 5 people on Nantucket, 4 in Woodhull, and about 25 on the Vineyard. We had some very good feedback. Took the feedback back to the staff, and one of the concerns people had was about the Blue Line losing their reservations. We talked with the operations team, and hence you just voted on getting rid of the losing your reservation. So we do take the input that we get from these meetings seriously, and we look to make changes. And besides that, I'd like to thank my staff for the budget was very arduous process, and the hours that they put in, it's greatly appreciated. So.
Okay, the 2025 proposed operating budget. We start with some assumptions. Baseline for revenues is actual traffic statistics, August 2023 through July 2024, which at the time we're creating the budget is the previous 12 months. Like Mark just said, we are fully hedged for 2025. Fuel costs are decreasing by 107,000 or 0.9%. In 2025, we'll be at $3.15 per gallon versus $3.35 per gallon in 2024. Operating budget is based on the 2025 approved operating schedule. In 2025 budget, we have accounted for vessel crewing, which is increased training, recruitment, and retention. The budget also includes vessel crewing that keeps able-bodied seamen in the off-season as we did in 2024. Keeping these extra ABs creates a feeder system for potential new licensed deck officers. We also have the Barnstable and the Aquina accounted for in the 2025 budget that's scheduled to operate. Because of these new vessels, we have increased insurance costs, fuel usage, and depreciation expense. Which brings us to the bottom line. Operating revenues of 139.1 million, operating expenses of 150.7 million, other income 12 million, other expenses almost 3.8 million, for a net operating loss of 3.3 million. This graph is showing significant operating expense changes. We have training up 400,000 compared to the 2024 budget. Payroll taxes will be up 653,000. Vessel maintenance, 871,000. We have additional information on a slide to follow. Insurance will be up 1.1 million. Pension and expense, 1.2 million. IT expense, 1.3. We also have much more detail on the IT expense to follow. And payroll, an increase of more than 7.8 million in 2025. The increase includes board-approved wage increases, settled contract agreements, and estimates based on union negotiations, sorry. Okay, so here we have our IT budget breakdown by hardware and software. On the left, IT hardware, 69% of the budget, which is $765,000 in total, is going to infrastructure, 11% for the reservation system, 6% for credit card processing, and 5% each for cybersecurity and disaster recovery. On the right, we have IT software budget breakdown. The total dollars for that category is almost 3 million. 27% of that budget is for website expenses, 15% for financial applications, 15% for infrastructure. The software budget improvements include cloud-based services and security information and event management program that will identify network problems and notify departments, allowing us to be more proactive instead of reactive. 2025 maintenance expenses. We have vessel dry docks for a total budgeted cost of 4.6 million. There will be 4 vessels that will be dry docked next year: the Martha's Vineyard, Woods Hole, Sankaty, and Ino. Terminal dolphin and dock repairs. Total budget is just over 3 million. Some of the major projects include Vineyard Haven Pier and decking repairs, Vineyard Haven Terminal roof replacement, Oak Bluffs Transfer Bridge and pier repairs. We have some more detail on the next slide about how the maintenance budget's getting broken out. So on the left, we have vessel maintenance, which is a total of almost 17.5 million. 32% of that is non-dry docking vessel repairs. 27% is for the dry docking of the 4 vessels that we just spoke about. 28% for maintenance and vessel crews associated with repairs. On the right, we have landside maintenance, which is a total of almost 5.8 million. 34% of that budget is for repairs to dolphins and docks. 20% for miscellaneous maintenance, which includes terminal gas and electric, gas for buses, uniforms, and rubbish removal, and 18% for buildings and structures. 2025 training and crewing expenses, total budgeted almost 1.5 million. The budget includes STCW training for vessel employees, vessel familiarization training, new vessel familiarization training, new pilot and captain training, additional ABs that we spoke about in the schedule, cybersecurity and additional IT training, and we also have our training and development expo, which we hold twice a year. This graph is showing the payroll summary. On the left, we have the 2024 budgeted payroll distribution. As you can see, almost 42% was going to vessels. In 2025, we have budgeted vessels again, 44%, just showing the distribution between all the categories, which ties into our next slide, which is in the 2025 budget, our total payroll increases. This is how those increases are being distributed throughout the different groups. So as an example, in 2024, we had 41.9% of total payroll was budgeted for vessel employees, but 57.9% of the wage increases are allocated to the vessel employees. That's kind of what this graph is showing us. adding value for recruitment, retention, vessel employees. Now Mark is going to talk about the budgeted 2025 operating revenues.
Sure. So forecasting using the last 12 months of actual traffic statistics. So we used August 2023 through July 2024. We're projecting passenger revenue down about 845,000, which equates to roughly 17,000 passengers. Parking revenue relatively flat. Freight revenue up about 2%, and automobile revenue down about 2.5 million at 3.6%. Projecting a decrease of about 23,000 cars based on the last 12 months of traffic.
How do you figure that?
Looking at the actual traffic statistics for the last 12 months comparing to the previous budget. Here's a graph showing the breakdown of the percentage cars of standard fare cars versus excursion fare cars for the island of Martha's Vineyard on the Martha's Vineyard route. You could see pre-pandemic in 2019, about 65% of the vehicles traveling were standard fares. Then during COVID, 2020, 2021, it rose up to almost 69%. Now it's down to 61.3%. And on the next slide, we can see the Nantucket breakdown as well. But different numbers, but similar trend. They went from 69.6% pre-COVID to 73% during COVID. Then they're at 66.2. So we've seen a drop in the between 23 and 2024. So when we put this together for the operating budget, we lose revenue, we lose money the first 4 months of the year, January through February, where we accumulate a net loss of $20.1 million. We make money during the months of May through September, where we have a net operating income of 6.4 million at the end of September. And then we lose money the last 4 months, which would bring us to a negative operating loss of 3.35 million. So a couple changes for the budget compared to the last time we talked is we adjusted last month. The board approved the Nantucket schedule. Is a little change. So we made some changes there based on feedback from the Vineyard. Vineyard meeting, we adjusted for the GM salary and the search for the GM, put those costs in there as well. So those are some of the changes that we had, but net it affected the budget by about $50,000 to the good. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, Courtney or I, about the budget.
Anybody? We don't want to talk about it.
Make a motion
Huh?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, there's a motion to approve, and it's been second. Any further discussion? Second here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? So voted. It's only money.
Your hand up, I didn't know whether you meant that you were, what? You're voting in the affirmative, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the proposed rate adjustments. So why the rate adjustments needed is Courtney just pointed out very well, is that, we have increased costs. We have the landside maintenance and costs increasing by $1 million. We have employee wages and benefits increasing by 9 million. We have training costs increasing by 400,000. We have new insurance costs, which people are experiencing personally, but also the new vessels have a higher carrying value. And we also have a one-time builder's risk cost in that next year we won't be incurring, but that's about 1.1 million. And then we have the IT costs increasing by 1.3 million. And the big thing on the employee wages is we want to attract, retain, and advance. That's what we're spending the money for. So we need good employees to keep our operations running. So I look at it as an investment in our operations for these wages. Okay, so the budget expenses for the maintenance expenses here, we can see from compared 21 to 2025 that we are reinvesting to maintain our fleet, both on the water side and on the land side. Here you can see the IT expenses that, for the last 3 years were pretty flat, but 2025 is we're having an increase. As we move to the cloud, we're going to have more software as a service costs associated with that. So Budgeted training, you can see in 2021, we were spending, or budgeting less than $500,000. Now we're budgeting about $1.2 million. The better trained employees and staff leads to better experiences, leads to more boats running. Overall, it's an investment again into our operations for improvements. As Courtney brought up earlier, this is where the pay increases are going. So putting this together, we have a targeted net operating income of $10.7 million. And that correlates very closely to our bond principal payment that's due in 2026, which is $10.8 million. So the bond principal doesn't flow through the income statement as an expense. We had net operating revenue of 3.3 million. So if we're trying to get to 10.7, which means we need about $14 million in rate adjustments, where the Vineyard side would come out with about 8.6 and the Nantucket side would be 5.4 million. For information purposes, this is a slide from back in July, I believe it was, for the cost of service, showing what each group uses on the Vineyard route as far as deck space occupation compared to revenue generation. And on the next slide, that slide also has the Nantucket run as well as in red. Here's a slide showing the last 5 years is what each category is covering of their percentage of cost for the standard fare cars, excursion fares, all passenger vehicles and the freight vehicles. So the bottom line with the proposed rate adjustments, looking to adjust the passenger fares by 1.8 million, and this is both routes combined. Excursion rates, no rate adjustment this year, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the slide. Standard fare vehicles, 6.1 million, freight vehicles, 3.4 million, and parking permits and daily fees, 1.8 million, and miscellaneous fees such as driver services and barging, which is all on the Nantucket route of 900,000. So on the Vineyard route, these are basically all unchanged since the last meeting, except for the Palmer Ave permit, instead of $100 is going up $50, where historically the parking permits at the offsite lights have been going up $50. That was some of the feedback that we received from the meetings. There was talk about looking at an island permit, but keeping the rate at $50, there's no need to explore that right now. And in theory, should really be all port community permit. But that's the adjustment from last meeting. So you're looking at the standard fares of 4.4 million. The 10 ride coupon books would be 64,000. The freight would increase 10%, which would generate 1.5 million. The passenger fare adult would be up 50 cents, and accordingly, the coupon books and the children and senior tickets would go up accordingly. That would bring in 860,000. And then you get the daily fee parking, where in a nutshell, the off-season would go up $4 to $5 a day, and those haven't been touched in over 4 years, as well as the standard, the 7-day-a-week rate on the Palmer would go to 25. And then we're looking at the parking permits, as mentioned earlier, the Palmer would only be going up $50 versus $100 as recommended last month. Here's a graph showing what the rate adjustments would be for each time period on the Vineyard route for the standard fares. And the Friday through Sunday rate adjustment, that was implemented in 2020. So there's significantly more demand in the summer, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where that's when the rentals typically turn over as compared to the rest of the days. And in the past, that's kind of taken some of the pricing pressure off of other groups. So in the Nantucket run, standard fare vehicles would be 1.6 million, coupon books 32,000. Similar to the Nantucket, the Vineyard run, no adjustment to the excursion fares. Freight would bring in 1.8 million at 10%. Their adjustment is for the passengers is on the high speed only, where people on the Nantucket have the option of traveling to, and generally you're on the slow boat either with your car or because of possibly financial constraints. And a mission driven item was the management felt it was really important to keep the conventional ferry the same, where people can choose to go in the high speed, but keep that more cost friendly. So parking permits, like the Vineyard route, keeping the Yarmouth rate to only $50 increase. And then the driver service and barges wasn't changed from the last month. And here's a graph showing the different rate adjustments for time of the year. So breaking down on the standard fare where the money's being generated, 40% of the money, the revenue increases is being generated Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the summertime. You have another 21% being driven in the summer months, May 15th, September 14th. And then the September 15th to 10/31 rates, those are going to mirror what the May rates were. And so that, because there's really no difference traveling in September 16th or May 16th. So those are pretty similar. So we put those rates in parity. Excuse me. Talking too much. On the next slide, we have where all the revenue is coming from. So 43% of the fare adjustments coming from the standard fare, 13% from the passengers, 6% from miscellaneous, 24 from the freight, and 14 from the parking. So we're trying to have a risk aversion diversify these rate adjustments in different categories. So when we put it all together, so instead of a $20.1 million loss that we accumulate in the first 4 months, it would be 17.6 million. Then we'd peak out at 17.9 in September, and then we'd lose money the last 3 months, but not as much as in October, to come out to 10.7, which is pretty similar to what our bond principal payment is. But one thing going back to the excursion rates is that the excursion rates haven't been adjusted since 2021. So for next year's budget, that would be, since it hasn't been adjusted, one of the first things that management would be looking to adjust. But it's not just adjusting the rate, but we should look at the program in its entirety. Should just be 2 rates, or having the passengers bundled in, or is there different ways to adjust that excursion rate in totality? So we'd have some meetings with the public, get some input, and look at that as a whole. So with that, Courtney or I would be happy to take any questions anyone has.
So do we have a balanced budget?
Yes, we're where we need to be. We have enough revenue, enough operating income. So the net income is offsetting our bond principal payment for 2026, which is fine. Then we have enough money flowing through the income statement to go into our special purpose funds. And then we're looking at from a budget purpose, we factored in the cost of the new boats, but not any additional revenue of the new boats or potential cost savings by reducing the amount of trips. So we didn't, the only adjustment we made on revenue assumptions was in the month of July. We upped the revenue on the Nantucket run by about $300,000 because the Woods Hole, the Sankey ran in place of the Woods Hole. And if the Woods Hole ran in July, every trip would be full on the Nantucket run. So that would be roughly $300,000. So yeah.
Caveat is that it provided the board approves the proposed rate adjustments.
The what?
Provided we would have a balanced budget if provided the board approves the proposed rate adjustments. As it stands right now, the operating budget is a $3.9 million. 3.5,
yeah.
3.5.
So what would you like us to approve?
The rate adjustments as proposed would be my wish.
Could I have a motion to that effect?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of enthusiasm behind it.
No, there's never enthusiasm to raise prices.
Of course not.
But I have a question after we
Yep.
get the motion done.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Go ahead.
Question. Mark, if you had to cut to balance this budget rather than add the 3 point, what would you cut?
If you look at the charts, where we lose the most money is in the off season. But that's against the mission driven need, is because that impacts the islands, because we have a lot of lower paying first. So from a pure business standpoint, it'd be the off season trips, but it would negatively impact the island residents. So if we're looking at cutting trips, I'd look at consolidating trips possibly. But in this, when we have the most trips running, is that we have the highest profit margin in the summer per trip. So you're really self-inflicting wounds there. So it's the off season when the trips aren't making as much money, we're the first thing you would look at, unfortunately. From a pure financial
Well,
standpoint.
look, I don't intend to sound like Elon Musk here.
Yeah.
But if you had to cut
Mhm.
to make this, where would you cut? What would the impact be on the steamship's operations, and what would the cuts be?
If I had a cut, and Sean, you're sitting far away from me, I would look at the advertising budget first and foremost. That'd be the first thing that I would look at.
You know, when you get figures like this, you know, you, to analyze each one, you've got to take all these little figures and make the big figures. But you know, the easiest way to do something like this would just say, you know, we need to cut the whole thing, let's say by 10%. We can't do that. But across the board. And there's danger in that, I know. But that's the easiest thing when you take, you know, all these little figures to make the big figures.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Bob. The reason for my question is I think it's important for the traveling public and our customers as they look at this increase
Yep.
to understand what the options are and how palatable or unpalatable those options might be. Because what we're hearing from Mr. Rosen now is the way to get this $3.3 million back is we're going to cut service, particularly in the winter. And that's the way, would be the impact of balancing the budget without a rate increase.
Right.
And to all the people who come to me and say, we need competition, and to the Steamship Authority, my response has always been, that's fine, but you're not going to get them operating in the winter. We've proved, that's been proven, that nobody wants to lose money in the winter the way we lose money in the winter.
Well,
If I may, we did cut from the previous meeting to this. I was remiss to say that some of the advertising budget already, a little bit, we knocked it down some, about 100,000. And I wouldn't want to touch the maintenance expense because we saw with the showing, because we need the boats to run. The crewing is a fixed cost on the crewing. The terminals are, you know, you should see it's pretty lean on the terminal. So, and then the IT, we're talking about this big project we need. So it's every point would have a pain point for us.
So I did want to point out that, yes, the advertising budget already had been trimmed back some from the original preliminary budget. But, you know, Mark's pointing out the off-season. Well, the issue in the off-season is that's when all of our maintenance is being done in dry docks, and whether those are $1 million to $2 million dry docks at a whack. It's a very expensive time period, and, you know, to be able to cut back enough to, you still need a cash flow to, in order to fund the operations and all the transfers that need to be done to for future projects as well. So, and then, you know, the point with the advertising budget is that, you know, we're looking to get foot passengers on board the vessels, particularly on the highest Nantucket run. As you see, you know, a big driver of those you know, summer months where we're running at a you know, a net income as opposed to a net deficit, is driven because of the passengers that are on board, and we have ample capacity of passengers on board our vessels. So,
and one other thing on the schedule cut is that we were talking about, we're bringing additional ABs on to get them trained for pilots and captains. And if we cut service in the off season, that's less year-round officers that when we need them in the summer, we're not going to have them. So it's self-inflicting a wound there.
Well, again, the point of my question was our clients need to understand what's going on and what's behind these numbers. And that was the point of my question.
There's also two other areas, leases that we need to take a look at, as well as the sale of a vessel. I know everybody loves the Governor, but with the Aquina and the Monomoy coming on, the practical standby vessel should be the Sankaty because it can serve both islands.
Good point.
And on the rate side, with the new system coming in, where right now we can't do time-specific trips, we can only do days. And if we're on a reservation-only model, then it's easier when you're changing your ticket in advance to have different times, where a 9 o'clock ticket at night leaving the island is not very attractive compared to a 7. So we start looking at more peak pricing by time of the day as different ways. So we're going to have some different options going forward.
I mean, one of the questions on the reservation only issue is to what extent will we get less passengers, fewer passengers, where people who thought I may go down to the Vineyard, oh, but I don't have a reservation, so I'm not going to bother making the trip. And that's a guess.
Yeah, and in the summer, we already have that in place, you know, for the weekdays and plus July 4th weekend. So it's already coming there, and it's more and more people are transitioning to making advanced plans with the smartphones, and so I don't think that as compared to 10 years ago, I think the impact now will be more minimal. As long as we make sure that that space is available to book, that's the key, is make sure the space is available to book, then it'll work great.
Thank you.
Yes, Peter.
Just a couple of comments and concerns. I mean, first, I'll sound like a broken record. We have a 64-year-old enabling act that makes us fare box driven. We are confined as a board to operate in that space. And I think it's very antiquated, especially when we have a lot of the traveling public say, look at the Washington State ferry system. Well, that's great because they have capital funding from their legislature and some operations subsidized. But that's not the reality we face ourselves in. My concern is that we're not raising our fares across the board. I understand, the political pressures of not raising the excursion rate, but in 2015, correct me if I'm wrong, in season Martha's Vineyard route, the standard fare was $68.50. The excursion fare was $47. We're now 9 years later, we're proposing a standard rate of $110 and continuing to keep the excursion fare at $53. And we're relying on the standard fare to make up 43% of the additional revenue that we need to balance this budget. Although the standard fare is now going down, the number of cars. So that revenue pool is getting smaller, but the excursion fare is getting bigger. So at some point, right, we're going to have to pivot and raise the excursion fare if we stay on a fare box driven, or, I don't know how much the standard fare can bear when the cost of service for the excursion fare is 31.5%. So I don't know, are we doing a disservice not spreading this across the board? And at some point, when we have to raise the excursion fare, it seems to me that it's going to be even less palatable than if we raised it today because of the gap we're going to have to make up.
I agree with that, Peter, but I know some of the things, the High Line, for example, they charge more than we do. And when they went from conventional, to high speed, they had to up their rates. And it didn't even flinch. And they just boogied up and paid it, and they just wanted high speed, and that was it. We do get sticker shock and think these people are not going to do it. When you're on vacation, you're spending a few extra bucks, to travel to where you want to go. I don't think it would hurt us at all, but I do think the excursion has got to step up a little bit. We didn't do anything. Did we do anything last year? We kept it the same. So
It's been risen since 2021.
2021 was the last time it was risen. And as I mentioned earlier, that's something for next year's budget would be the first thing we look at, but also not just the rate, but look at the programs. Is it having more similar time periods like the standard fares, or looking at the whole package itself? If we're going to adjust it, let's adjust it and get it up to the times,
Right, I think we've got to look at that next year, but we're too heavy into it. Go ahead.
I think it's absolutely clear that we're gonna have to do something. What it is, I do not know. Peter's right about the gap that's accelerating. And there's also the sort of this macro view, which says we have fewer and fewer regular rate vehicles, automobiles, and more excursion rate automobiles. At some point it becomes unsustainable, or you're simply going to have everything subsidized by trucks. And if the lifeline service is fuel, medicine, and food, then we're going to have a problem. So is it possible to do this evaluation within the next month, or is this something that we should put off for a year?
With the heads, with the timelines that were laid out earlier for the reservation system and putting it all in place, we're a month behind where we normally are right now. So I'd like to have this done and then start talks, outreach to the islands and talking about the excursion programs as a whole and seeing, if two people are seniors, where it's an adult ticket, does it make sense to unbundle, where this, look at all the different options on the table and get feedback and then come back with a comprehensive plan on how to adjust it for the 2026 budget, and also seeing what system capacities the new system's going to have, that another more tools in the toolbox to adjust some of these potential fare increase in the adjustments in the future.
System capacity.
Meaning
That,
that right now we don't have the ability
And
to,
where are those tools going to come from?
the new reservation system
That's 2 years away?
or 2027, but start having those conversations. It might not be next year's budget, but certain things where on the schedule itself for the excursion,
Right.
it's like things, not just the whole, but can we change some of, like we did with the standard fares with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for example. And then splitting up we used to have a rate that went from all the way from April through
Yeah.
September. And then we went from May through September, looking at the different rate periods as well.
Thank you.
Following up on what I just said about, the high line and increased rates, I think there's obviously room to increase rates, but there's a law of diminishing returns. The airlines, once we started the fast ferry services, they folded. They just weren't going to pay that amount of rate. So if we, continue to escalate, we're going to invite the airlines to come in and, so it's a little bit of a confusing mix. Prime rate fees and stuff like that, does that have any a bearing on passenger trips?
Prime rate. I
In
mean,
other
like
words,
interest rate?
Prime
Are you talking?
rate, preferable times and so paying more for
Peak travel.
No, so when we went to the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it didn't impact our reservations at all when we implemented that policy. And those are still, and Allison can confirm that the Saturdays are the first days to sell out and then followed by Sundays and Fridays. In the summertime, when we have that peak travel, that differential between a Monday to Thursday has not had any impact on our reservations in the past.
All right. Further discussion? Okay.
Again, I do think that we need to spend serious time next year preparing for what's inevitably going to be price increases for excursions. Like it or not.
We do have a first and a second.
Excuse me?
We do have a first and a second on this order.
Yeah. So all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so voted unanimous.
Yeah.
Peter?
I'm voting along the lines of my fellow Port Council member. I'm voting no as a placeholder, so we make sure we have this discussion in a timely fashion for next year.
What would you say that again?
I'm voting no
You voted no.
to the fare rates. To the motion.
Okay. That's your privilege. Okay,
Thank you.
that's why we have a committee.
Well, we are going to.
Go ahead. Moving on to procurement.
All right, first item we have, request the members authorize the general manager to award contract 17-2024 dry dock and overhaul services for the MV INO to lowest eligible responsible bidder, Fairhaven Shipyard Companies of Fairhaven, Mass, for a total contract price of $531,595. The INO is scheduled to enter shipyard availability January 4th, 2025 through February 14th for its hull exam, jet and shaft maintenance, ride control overhaul, coatings maintenance, and there's also a storage element of the contract. The estimate that we had originally for the 2025 budget was $671,550. The discrepancies between what we actually ended up getting and that was amounted to about a 20.8% difference. It was in the blasting and coatings. It came in lower than what we had anticipated. 17 shipyards were sent to the bids. Two responsive bids came in. We actually had a third that arrived the day after, so we had to reject that one. So we're we're seeking authorization for the general manager to award contract number 17-2024 dry dock and overhaul services for the MVINO to lowest eligible and responsible bidder, Fairhaven Shipyard of companies of Fairhaven, Mass, for a total contract price of $531,595.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's moved, seconded. Is there discussion? I just saw 17 responses. I'm surprised.
No, 17 shipyards were sent the
Oh,
package.
that makes a
Okay,
difference. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, 17 shipyards, and we got two by the date and time that they were due, and we received the third one the day after, which we did never open.
Well, that would be more like the reality. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
All right, next item. To request a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to approve PO 37232 for labor to overhaul the MTU main propulsion engine model 16V 4000 M64 for the MV Woods Hole with Stewart and Stevenson Power Products LLC for a total contract price of $273,940. The MV Woods Hole has two MTU model 16V 4064 M64 main propulsion engines that are Tier 3 compliant. We're looking to overhaul one of those engines in the off-season, and the overhauls in accordance with our planned maintenance system, but we don't have enough machinists to be able to perform this in-house, so I'm seeking authorization for the general manager to approve PO 37232 for labor and overhaul the starboard main engine, MTU engine, as per quotation MAB DT 2409A for the MV Woods Hole with Stewart and Stevens Power Products LLC for a total contract price of $273,940.
Okay, is there a motion, please?
I'll move.
It's moved.
Yeah.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right, next item, request a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with IntraSystems LLC of Braintree, Mass. for application modernization, reservation system preparation and support resources for a total contract price of $666,555. The IT department, as you're aware, had a couple of application developers with over 40 years of experience between them retiring. The developer, one of the developers was intimately familiar with financial applications, including those that we're using in-house. Originally was scheduled to retire in April 2025, but has since just determined that he was going to be retiring this month. So we're looking to bring in IntraSystems LLC for programming to design, architecture, and development of the bulks program and the commercial shipper portal, and that'll be part of the reservation system going forward. So this task, we expect this over the next 5 months for this to be done. So we're seeking authorization to execute the professional services agreement with IntraSystems LLC as attached to the staff summary in the amount of $666,555.
Is there a motion, please, Peter?
May I ask a question?
Yep.
How is this different from the contract we approved last month with IntraSystems?
Stephen.
Again, gentlemen, This contract's significantly different in the fact that the one previously was for one developer to be brought in and do coding for us, regardless of circumstances, whether it leaned towards the reservation system or towards internal applications that were developed in great number by the two individuals who are now retired. The difference being this contract is for product management, project management, architectural design, and specifically for the early development, specifically for the reservation system project, for the shippers portal, and the bulks process itself. An additional benefit that's noted here is the fact that they are willing to take project management tasks and product management tasks aligned with internal coding projects and bring them into the fold. So they're not only are they willing to manage, design, and architect for the reservation system, but they'll do so for the internal products that will remain, that are identified as remaining alongside the reservation system.
Yes, please do.
Stephen,
Yes, sir.
what makes me nervous about this is supporting net new aspects of revenue applications. Is there anything?
Reservation system.
This is in the number 3 on page 2 of this. Technical project program management for all resources, authority, third interest system, support of legacy platforms, as well as projects supporting net new aspects.
Yep.
Is there anything in this that, in your view, Stephen, is going to hamper our ability to move to a new reservation system and a new IT system as we go forward?
No, sir. This actually, the reservation system project and the applications, the reservation system that we end up choosing and taking advantage of relies on these
very things. Okay, so
Yes,
this
sir.
is foundational to where we're going.
Very much so.
Okay, because my concern is we have a lot of stuff that is hard coded, and we'll talk about this in other meetings, but hard coded stuff that very few people or one individual or maybe two understand.
Yep.
That the rest of the organization can't access. And I don't want us to stay in that hole.
No, sir. What the current reservation system does not take into account is the commercial side of the business.
Correct.
Can you speak up?
Sorry.
All right.
Bulk trucks.
Exactly.
Even with my earphones on, I'm missing you, so.
Yep. So, to make certain that the new reservation system, regardless of which vendor is selected, supports not only the passenger vehicles, we also wanted to accommodate the needs and satisfy the needs of the commercial community.
Okay.
So with that being said, we're completely it's gotta be me. So what the commercial community does not have today is a portal that they can manage their business or the business conducted with us. On our current reservation system treats them as though they're just the traveling public. In addition to that, it's going to completely re-architect the bulks system as it is today.
Great. I have a lot of faith in you and your efforts. As long as this is not going to stand in the way of progress, I'm happy.
No, absolutely. This will expedite process.
Thank you.
The project.
Okay.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much.
Peter,
Second.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay. Where are we going?
All right, so under the old and new business, I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that back in 2019, the authority approved the ongoing promotion to honor all U.S. military personnel, including those on active duty, veterans who have been honorably discharged, retired veterans with free passenger travel on Veterans Day. So Monday, November 11th this year, there were 58 people who availed themselves of that travel. So we thank them for their service.
Moving on to the search procedure, and I'll take that. As you know, we formed a search committee last meeting, which includes myself and Jim, and also with on the Port Council, Rob and Nat. We weren't appointed necessarily because of our chairmanship. Basically, it's their institutional knowledge that they've had over the years, and so I'm really pleased with the committee that we will have our first meeting Friday at 4 via Zoom. And it'll be just kind of an organizational meeting. In the meantime, Janice and crew have been putting together potential headhunters, and they haven't been sitting idle at the dock. We have. So in any event, once we, get the headhunters lined up, and things will naturally review all of those. And I don't know. Let me ask you this, Janet, in reviewing applicants for a position like this, is that usually confidential? I mean, people who take out a prospectus and stuff to bid and everything, or is that public information?
Be confidential.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so in any event, a lot of stuff that we do, once we start taking names and things like that, it will be, completely confidential and have to go in executive session. No candidate is going to apply for something if they know they're going to be on television, because a lot of these people are just a second, huh? And they're,
When you're done, please.
I'll give you a chance. Okay. They, a lot of them, be leaving their own jobs and things like that, and that's also a confidential nature. But we will try to keep the public, attuned and anything that needs to be done. But it's going to be, basically a lot of, developing RFPs and developing job descriptions and comparing job descriptions of what we have now and things like that till we get to the end process. Then I guess that's about it. Bob.
So if I may, actually, in terms of this, once you start getting applicants and any interviews would be done in public sessions. That's how it's been handled in the past.
I'm not sure of that. We'll discuss that. I think that's we will. The committee, we also will go through them, and depending on how many we have, if we look at them and we pare it down to a final 2 or 3, that will be in public session.
Yes.
But until that point,
Correct.
They will.
Yes.
So there's no misunderstanding there.
Man,
Yes, of course.
I think, thank you, Chairman Jones, or Bob. just so that everybody understands the process, as I understand it. We have a number of search firms, perhaps 6, I think, Janice. We're going to look at the search firms. We're going to make a determination as to which search firm we'll employ. We'll interview them, we'll review their resumes, recommendations, so on and so forth. Once we have the search firm, then we need to be able to have, what are the qualifications of the applicant? What are the experiences we're looking for with the applicant? And what does the job description look like that we're going to have that applicant fill? Once we've got that done, then we work with the search firm to look at a number of candidates. The initial candidates, as I understand it, we will be in closed session, but when we get to 3 candidates perhaps to bring to the board, those will be in open session, those interviews. But again, we're committed to a search. We're committed to getting the best possible person to be the next general manager of the authority.
You got it.
Thank you.
Any questions? No vote is necessary.
If I, just one on a different subject. So today is Mark Higgins' last board meeting, and I just wanted to wish him well in his future endeavors and thank him for his service.
Absolutely. Back home, huh? With a Buffalo Roam or what?
Well, I wouldn't say home because we lived in North Attleboro at Massachusetts for 20
Oh, I
years.
didn't know you were a transplant.
Yeah, so we moved down here my sons graduated from North Attleboro High School. My kids, 3 of my sons were born at Sturdy Memorial.
Oh.
But Maine's another home for us, and yeah, I'll be,
I thought you were a Mainer all this time.
I am. I was born and raised in Maine, but my wife and I lived 20 years here in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I love Maine. So anyways, best of luck and Godspeed.
Thank you.
Success.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're ready to adjourn. And
Public
we're
comment.
going in, huh?
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget that. Public comment. Is there anybody in the public? I see a couple names that have any questions, comments?
No one's raising their hand.
No one? Okay. All right, let me just see what we got here. Still. I need a keeper. All right. Assuming this is in the right place. I'd like to entertain a motion to go in executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authorities meeting in executive session on October 15th, 2024. And to review the authority strategy with respect to real estate, security, collective bargaining negotiations, because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include a proposed renewal of the lease of the town of Falmouth for the Woods Hole parking lot, proposed renewal for the lease of the Woodland Trust property for the Catomic parking lot, Mashpee Reservations Office lease, deployment of cybersecurity devices, anticipated and ongoing negotiations with the Teamsters Union, Local 59, and MEBA, District Number 1 PCD, discussion with respect to the tentative collective bargaining agreement with MEBA District Number 1 PCD, governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's engineering officers, and discussion about non-union personnel. Public disclosure of any more information with respect to these matters would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is being called. After the conclusion of executive sessions, we will not reconvene in public. Again, may I have a motion?
Move.
It's moved. Second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's moved and unanimously, so we're in executive session. We're moving to executive session.